Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? But the party was nice, the party was pumping. Hey, yeah. And everybody having a bar. Yeah. Until the fellas started name calling. And the girls returned to the car. I heard a woman.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is August 6th. Take a little disclosure. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Here we are. Hey, the sun's coming up and the moon came out last night and the world didn't end like everybody on TV was saying. Wall Street's a funny place. It really doesn't want people to make money. It wants to kind of collect fees and it wants to, make sure it gets the most dramatic page views there is. So cooler minds always prevail. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm 51 years old. I've been trying to give everyone a little bit of confidence on how to perhaps prepare themselves for the future, for the now, for the present. Make some cash flow monthly and quarterly because that's what most proprietary traders do. But then there's also guys who just kind of want to build wealth over time and also want to, carve out nice gains from the market. Could be with the blood in the street account, which I'll go over. It could be, just, taking advantage of big moves that don't, eat you up and spit you out. We're here to be opportunistic, and that's by having a set of rules and a set of plans. That's why I'm up every day at 4:45. All right, let me say hello to some of my dogs around the world real quick. Let's see who we got. We got Moonshine Dances. That's a cool name. We got Rocky in Tampa. What up? I love Rocky. What up, Todd? What up, Blair? What up, Rolando? We got Westfield in the house. We got Jose from Caracas. Ali's always here. We got the space specialist always trying to add a little value. We got Austin. What a buy the dip opportunity, Joey said. Well, it wasn't that big of a move yesterday, but we'll get to that. Let me just real quickly go over the chart of the weekly and then I'm not going to do the weekly again for this week, just because a lot of people are asking about, do I sell my 401k? Do I get out of the 529? Do I put my blood in the street so I like to give reasons why. So if you go here, let's go to the chart so you could actually see it. All right, I'm not going to be, you'll hear my voice, I hope. Can you guys hear my voice? So basically, this is a chart of the S&P cash. You can go back a long way. All right, you go back a long way, and obviously you can see the taper tantrum of 2018, the pandemic of 2020, and then the slow, steady downtrend from the 2021, the inverted head and shoulders pattern to, this channel that broke slightly to the downside, and then one more time. All right, within all these times, okay, if you've been cost averaging your 401k, you're getting great prices, and chances are you have nothing to worry about. If you have an account, okay, that you don't want to trade stocks and you want to take advantage of bigger moves, well, yesterday was the second time I put the blood in the street long-term account to work. First time was right here. Okay, we actually got the low on April 15th. I put a third back in, and then I think I sold it into this move at highs. I only stay with it, to carve out 5 to 7%. We were only able to get one tier here because we never came down further. Okay, basically during this decline, I think we got 2 tiers to work. During this decline, we did it multiple times. And then even here, this was a 3 tier, which was awesome. So anyway, so for right now, for those that just like to mimic their Roth IRA, their own cash account, yesterday, I was targeting 52.64. Okay, for when we broke, and guys were trying to get me to put the blood in the street account right here, or even on Friday. I'm like, guys, this is not blood in the street. Yesterday, there was a bit of blood in the street, and it was a great trading opportunity. And so basically, if you earmark the close, which was like 51.86, about 9% off highs. So then everyone's like, well, Red Dog, how do you get to tier 2 in that account? How do you get to tier 3? Very patiently. Do I think that 51.19 might be the low now moving forward till the end of the year? I don't know. If anyone's going to tell you it is, and they have 100% confidence, they're talking out of their arse. At this point, yes, maybe hopefully it was a trading low for this week so we can make money on a bounce into resistance areas. But by any means, it's hard to say on August 6th. The Fed's not, in my opinion, going to do a surprise rate cut. I think the S&P is still up 10% for the year. It only pulled back almost 10%. Back in the day when they did rate cuts, we were down 20% for the year, not just 10% off the highs. Everyone's getting a little spoiled. So anyway, the only way that this will go into a tier 2 is, if you look here, this is 48.18. This was the high from January 3rd. If we could see somewhere around here, okay, and it's on the lows and I can get the low print, maybe here would be a tier 2, maybe like into this zone. You have this peak of 46.07, you have 46. So this area would be the tier 2. Otherwise, that account's done. Tier 1's in, the other 2/3 are in a fixed rider, and that's that. As far as the 401k and all that kind of stuff, okay, that's just mechanical. You have a 401k. Okay, if you have a 401k, you just put money in every single month. You sacrifice a little bit. You let your employee put the other half in, and it'll be a lot of money over 30 years. I'm 51, so I don't care how my account fluctuates. The 503B, which my wife has for private practice, which is her other account, not the Blood on the Street account, it's the same thing. Okay, but you're in private business, so it's a different product. 529. Okay, Chase is a rising sophomore. Yes, he is dunking, but doesn't mean he's going to get a full ride scholarship. So I have to save for his college. I'm not worried that all of a sudden this market correction phase is going to, take away from what I will have for him senior year of high school or freshman year. Then, if anything, maybe it helps his average cost. So those are the 3 long-term accounts that are mechanical. The Blood on the Street account is the account that I try and navigate, and I have you guys navigate. And then, let's go to G3, which is what I am the chief strategic officer of. I'm a founding partner, and I try and trade for a living. So yesterday, if you remember, we were talking about levels. Yes, levels. So if we go here to levels, okay, here it is. We hit a low of 510. So 510, okay, was yesterday's low. That's all we know. Typically, after you get a move like this, usually you get some kind of inside action. But right now, the SPYs are up 4, okay? So hopefully you sold some premium, puts to the downside, which we were talking about yesterday. Maybe you bought some calls, or maybe you're in the SPYs itself. I made really good money buying. Remember, I was like, I'd love to buy 508. Well, 508 was pre-market, and then, we were able to buy into the 512s, and here you are. The question now that I have, okay, because that was yesterday, this is today, what kind of bounce are we going to have? What kind of bounce can we trade before maybe sellers come back involved? And if you go back here, this is 521. So there's room until yesterday's high, this is what I call the gap pivot, right? Everyone in the world, every trade in the world sees it, and most gaps get filled. This one didn't. That's why it was controlled to the downside. When you don't have a gap get filled, it shows you that direction is the powerful prevailing direction. This could still get filled, and still go lower, but it means that it's not as powerful. But anyway, 523.50. So there's a $5 gap. So if it can't even push into 523.58 in the next day or two and fill a portion of this and creates a bear flag, that we're going to see the 200-day, and it could happen sooner than later. If all of a sudden today we open up here, we push in, maybe there's a chance we grind higher and we work off the oscillator that went to minus 70. It was actually minus 90 yesterday, closed at minus 77. So if the oscillator wants to go from minus 77 back to neutral, then there's a small chance that you might even get a move back towards 537. So that would be a pretty nice move. So first things first, it's got to get above and stay above this. Sometimes it gets above, fills a little bit, and then comes back down. Okay, kind of like you see this gap here. This actually filled it and then boom. But anyway, so 523.58 is your gap pivot today. You could look at so many things, okay, and do the same thing. The Qs, put a low in a 423. Obviously, you could see the Qs already went through the 200-day and came back above it. Your gap pivot here is 442. It gets filled at 444. The brick wall, like if you sold all my puts yesterday, I have no hedges on. Okay, so the plan yesterday was sell puts in the SOXL to get long and buy calls there. That was to play a bounce in the semis. We did that. The other focus was to buy Nvidia from 92 down to 88. It only went to 90, but it had a great move back up. That was awesome. And the other play was to buy Apple, somewhere between 202 down to maybe 198, and then we looked, there was a level to 194. We bought 196 halves. It was great. Yes, it was a great trading day. Alpha team made a lot of money, and hopefully so did you from the 630 club. Anybody make some money yesterday? Okay, good. Anyway, so the Qs are up 4, okay, up a little bit more. So here's 439. So if you were day trading this today, what you would probably say is, okay, could probably make some money up until this 442.29, but in order for this to fill this gap, mega cap 7 the mag 7 needs to be acting well. Maybe Nvidia's got to be above 103, and things have to really be working out for that. And then in time, if this is going to be like a multi-day rally this week to burn off the oversold condition, this is where you'd probably want to put the shorts back on just in case. Okay, every time we've rallied back to the 8-day now, it's kind of getting rejected. So here you have room back, so we'll see. But again, gap pivot. So basically, I would stick with the SPYs. I would stick with the Qs and even the SMHs. So yesterday I made really good money selling. I was showing you guys the Soxel, right? I was like, yesterday, I'm gonna look at this move down here, okay? And bottom line is there was a lot of money to be made. So what I did is this. So you could see, I showed you guys the virtual trading floor yesterday. So basically, I stuck to my plan. I bought the Qs, which I'm up. I'm going to trim a little bit. I bought Apple yesterday. I didn't take Nvidia home. I sold puts, to collect premium in the Soxel for Friday. Both sets, 22s and 19s. They gave me a lot of premium. So if it went down there, I'd have to buy it. If not, I keep it. I sold puts in the SPYs. I sold these puts, and then I also bought some calls. And then that's it. Besides a few day trades. So I made good money yesterday, and that was the plan. You didn't need to be in 10 things to make a lot of money. You could have made 10 points in Apple, almost 10 points in Nvidia. You could have made 6-7 points in the indices and been focused. You could have sold premium and collected and made almost 100% in a few different places, or 50%. And now today's another day. So here's the Soxel. So let's say right here. So the gap here starts. This is 31.59. That's probably where this bounce can go to. So when you're playing bounces, you want to figure out what's the easy bounce where you could trade and catch, and then where's it more difficult so you're not ruining your prices. So anyway, so this is here. All the moving averages come down here, which has been, look how the 8-day just rejected price this entire time. That was, every time the semis tried to rally, it got broken. So here would be the brick wall. So there's a place it could bounce to, and a place to trade, and a place to be careful. You could probably play this into here, but once it gets up to, if it were to see that, which I don't even know if it could see that, but from 70 down to 36, it's not that uncalled for. Same way I said you could resell the 46 to 48. This is 36-ish. So it's good to have a roadmap. You need a roadmap, so this way you don't, fall off, drive into a sign or a speed bump or off a cliff, right? Bitcoin, really, it bounced a little bit off of that 52,000 area. We'll get to it. So, everything kind of looks the same. Everything put its low in the first 5-15 minutes, and you could have played a snapback. You could have done it in Tesla. You could have done it in Apple. You could have done it in Microsoft. In the semis, it was kind of cute that AMD had the best bounce, because I guess people thought that maybe because Nvidia was delayed, they could buy AMD. But the bottom line is, this gap is filled. Okay, so now this is gone. This will disappear from my chart. The question is, where could Nvidia bounce to? Okay, well, this is one spot. This is yesterday's high. Okay, it bounced to, what is this? This is 103.41. So I would say this is the rubber match for today. Okay, this will tell you whether or not this bounce could continue or not, and it probably could if it wanted to. I would say, if it wanted to get back towards the 8-day, which it's been getting rejected, this is where I'd be now, instead of 110 where it got rejected, this 108-ish. So I think about two spots. I think, okay, first spot this morning, how will it deal with 103? It didn't quite get to 87.50, but it was a great trade around the 90s. Now the question is, 103.50 is a spot, and then here is 108-ish. So this would be, if it gets above this, there's probably some room, and that probably means the SPYs, the Qs, and the semis are all filling yesterday's gap, and we're having a better bounce. But again, this 8 day has been resistance, so it could take a few days. You don't know. But this is the daily time frame on Nvidia. And what could you have seen in Nvidia to get out of the way? You had the Liz claiming top. I was on with Liz when we called the top in the semis, and then you had your lower high, and then remember, I'm like 127 is the key, and it broke. Okay, so now the key for today, for today's bounce, is, which is not there, will Nvidia, okay, which I'll put right here, how will it deal with 103.41? Okay, if it gets above it and people are shorted, they probably get squeezed and you get a little bit more of a bounce in the SMHs and in the SOXL, etc. If it gets rejected there, and if all of a sudden Nvidia goes from up $2 to down $3 or $4, chances are, this rally is going to be a bit more feeble, and people are shorting it faster. So, I always look for keys. I don't look at the TV at fake traders and analysts and that as keys. I look at stocks as the key to the day. Okay, so in order for the SPYs to fill, that gap and get to maybe 525, or the Qs to get to 444, Nvidia's probably got to get above 103. And then if you look at Apple, Apple's gap starts at 213.50 and fills here. This is a big travel range. Remember yesterday, I'm like, I think we could be a buyer. Why did I pick 198 to 202? Is because this was a double top. It broke above, so I figured this would be a great retest. So I put bids in, and all of a sudden it just got filled. Sometimes you want to put bids in your prices if you can handle it, and then trade your other account, and that's what happened yesterday. Today, Apple's down a little bit. So sometimes if you want to be like really tactical, so what you do is, here's Apple, it's down $1, so it's showing a little relative weakness because of the size of the move. Then what you do is you look at a different chart, okay, if you want to do tools and tactics here, and you look at the intraday from yesterday, and this is what it did yesterday. Okay, it had its big move. So if Apple is probably going to be any good, okay, and hold in there and not roll over, I would think Apple today holds this 204-ish area, and you might even be able to buy buyable, and then it goes back into this range. But that's more of a 3-minute chart versus a daily chart versus a weekly chart. But these are all, this is whether you're day trading. So right now it's a 208. So it's kind of no man's land. It did hold 208 for most of the day before the end of the day. But anyway, showing a little relative weakness this morning, not a big deal. Everyone in the media is still talking about how Buffett sold 50% of its stake, but he also sold a lot of his Bank of America. He sold a lot of things. The guy is like 93, 94. Maybe he's raising liquidity so his PMs could actually make the decisions and he could do a proper transition. And then maybe he wants to donate a lot of it to charity, which is what he does, versus thinking, he's doing it because he sees another 2007, 2008 coming, which I don't see. But, who cares? What I see, I see levels and I react accordingly. But right now a 9 to 10% correction after the size of the move that we've had is normal. The Fed has to normalize. I told you guys 3 weeks ago, the Fed's not cutting rates in September if the S&P is 2% off the highs. Now that it's almost 10%, sentiment's getting gloomy. There's a better chance, but I don't think they do a rate cut in the middle. So anyway, we'll see. Palantir after earnings. You know what? Some of these names are all having like broken bounces, and I haven't looked at Palantir since I lost money there. Way back when. It's got to rebuild. If you look at Palantir, yes, it came out with good numbers. So Palantir might fill this gap, but it is what it is. Hopefully you bought it yesterday. Look at the size of this move yesterday. This was when I got out of my Palantir up here. None of these names are special. None of these names are ready to make new 52-week highs. All these names have to rebuild. A rebuild process to create better patterns to then start new active sequences. For right now, they're just tactical trades, and you want to measure where's the easy bounce to, what would be a little bit more powerful, and where's the rubber match, so you know how to react with your tier size each and every time. Meta, did like everything else. Meta, had a move yesterday off the lows. I gave you guys levels. Here's your Meta move. It held above 442, came up, and now you have all this resistance here. Meta definitely, has a better than average chance. All right, this gap was filled, so this needs to be gone. This gap was filled, so this needs to be gone. A little less noise on these charts. Gone. Let's go. Anyway, so I'd be very surprised. Meta's up $5 today, right? So what's Meta doing? Meta it's up $4 at $4.79. What's yesterday's high? $4.83. So all these things look the same. This might be able to rally towards 483, and the question is, can anything get above yesterday's high today to show relative strength, which means there's more appetite for them than other things, so they move up your go-to list. But if you remember, we actually got out of this by the skin of our teeth because I had options on for earnings, and thank goodness I took it off on Thursday before I left for Montauk. Anyway, today's SMCI, it could cause a little bit of a bounce. At this point, things need to be rebuilt. There's a lot of damage out there in a lot of these names and a lot of these stocks. What you want to see during a corrective phase is what starts to show their face and act better. I'll tell you what is acting better. My friends love Dash. Look at that. Look at this candle in Dash. Okay, came out with earnings on a day the market didn't like anything, and then yesterday gave you a move like that. I would say Dash is something I'm gonna move up my go-to list because chances are market gets better, it'll be one of the first few names to get back towards all-time highs. So Dash is something you could put on your list. Reddit comes out with numbers after today. Look how broken Reddit is. Reddit, now you know why. Up here it was a little wishy-washy. And look at this red dog reversal up here. Everyone's like, oh my God, it sucks. Yeah, well, it couldn't get above and stay above and came all the way in. So at this point, again, all of these look like corrective phases that could have broken bounces. So pick and choose your battles. I'm gonna probably stay with Apple. I'm gonna stay with Nvidia. Every now and then I'll play a different semi. Oh, guys are talking a lot about this LUMN, and rightly so. Okay, this stock came out with some pretty awesome news. Okay, you could look at it. This stock might be actually something that you could stay with. It's up at obviously $1.28 this morning. Up 50%, but they talked about orders of $5 billion, $5 to $7 billion. Here's 389. This is the prior high here of 420. So this is something, so if you want to move things on your list during a corrective phase, this might continue. And I would move Dash, as a new name, up the go-to list and just trade these ranges and don't try and be too cute. Right now when the VIX is high, you could sell premium lower and collect a lot of money. But you don't really want to buy calls because, like my friend yesterday said, I bought the 520 calls for $5 at 9:35 when the SPYs were 512, and then when the SPYs were 519, those $5 calls were 20 cents lower. He made no money by buying the calls. So buying calls right now is tricky. So that's why I sold premium. When we were at 512, I was selling the 508s for $3 or something like that. So anyway, again, the thought today, every day there's different thoughts. My thoughts yesterday was, where do we hit a low? Do we go to, from 515, that was a spot, down to 506 and went to 510. And now the question is, is there enough buying pressure to get above here and fill that gap for a trade? We might need to do a few inside days. Sometimes you have a few inside days, like look after this decline in April, you had like an inside day, then you made a higher low, and it took a few weeks before you gapped above this new little, lower base wedge, and then it started again. But again, I don't know if we're going to have that now. So the bottom line is we could stay in here for a day or two, and then you can fill the gap, or if you can't fill the gap and you stay here, then we head lower. So we'll see which way it is. Cat's up big. That's cool. Cat, you have these trades you want to put on for earnings. It's fine. But for me, I would say stay away from earnings option plays because the moves aren't big enough. Let's see what Cat is doing, to make a lot of money in options. Cat's up 21 at 338. So let's see where Cat's back to. I haven't looked at this chart in a long time. So basically, it went from 368 down to here, and now it's back right into the moving averages. So again, the market right now is just in a crazy rebuild stage. Nothing's going to be making higher lows and higher highs for a while. And if you start to see things pan out, then actively for a swing, you can go with it. So with that said, here's your level with Cat, 337-ish, 338-ish. If it gets through here, I guess it gets more interesting. Or you see how much of today's gap holds. You have gap pivots, right? I went over that. I have a lot of seminars on if something comes out with earnings and it holds that gap and goes sideways, then you could be long versus that. But in this market environment where we might not have put the low in, where yesterday's low might not be the low for August or September, nothing is going to really get that much traction. So you don't need to have that much risk on as a trader. All right, guys, I got to jump. sorry to yesterday was the day to add a ton of value. Today is the day to tell you to not to overtrade and try and just net a little bit of money and don't, give back, by trying to chop yourself silly. Even Tesla, had a move yesterday like everything else, but, will Tesla be able to get, back? This was 205, this is 203, and then here's your spot probably where, you could reshort it at 214. This is 203. Remember I told you 182? Look at that nice move. So that was the nice move was yesterday. And now it's kind of noisy. Sorry. Don't lose your hearing by a noisy day that could be choppy and not worth a whole lot of upside. So hopefully you took a little bit of risk on yesterday. You're long and you could trim some into this up open. Like I'll trim some Qs, and collect some premium and then see if any of these things are worth it for a trade in the morning. All right, guys, have a good easy day, and stay sane. And cooler heads do prevail. And drown out the noise of the TV sets and the media and the newspapers. All they're trying to do is sell some page views, and the most extreme headlines win. That's not going to make you money in trading.